it's even Silverhairedgaming, back with another episode of Galactic Quest. Today I want to do a quick once-over on Applied Energistics, and then I want to get into building a couple of things. I'm going to show you what I've done because I've expanded a little bit. Now, Applied Energistics is really complicated, and it takes a long time, so it's something really hard to do in a survival game. So I'm going to show you what I did. And the first thing I need to show you is, I want you to ignore these machines because I'm going to tell you kind of how I got here and what they do. But first thing you're going to need is the Certus quartz that I got from over here. I don't remember if I took it all out of here or not. No. So you remember I got both Certus quartz and charged Certus quartz. They're the two different kinds that naturally occur in the wild, and there is a way to make more of them, to duplicate them. What you do is that you take a regular charged or regular Certus quartz, and you can grind it in like a sag mill pulverizer and turn it into dust. So you take one of those dusts and one sand, and you turn them into what's called Certus quartz seeds. Now, I put some Certus quartz seeds down here, I don't know, a long time ago. What you do is that you put them in a pool of water, and these are in there just by themselves with nothing else. And let's see, these are at 10%, and they have been going for, I don't know, a very long time, and they're only at 10%. Now, the way to, let me get those back out. I didn't want to throw them all in there. But the way to make them grow faster is to make these things called, what did I do? Pick them up again? It must be because I'm close enough to them. Try this again. Is by making crystal growth accelerators, and I'll show you how they're done. So, growth accelerators. There we go. Crystal growth accelerators, and one of the key things that they're going to need is a Fluix block, which are made from Fluix crystals. You see, there's two different kinds. There's regular Fluix crystals, and there's pure Fluix crystals. The Fluix crystals, the regular ones, are fairly easy to make. You drop one charged Certus quartz, one nether quartz, and redstone dust into a puddle next to one another and wait for a few moments to get two crystals. So one of these Fluix blocks can be made pretty easily with a regular Fluix crystal. It takes more with a pure version. So let's take these out of here. And I've got some charged Certus quartz, I've got some nether quartz, and I've got some redstone dust, and I'll show you. Now this shouldn't take nearly as long. They usually don't. Boop! And you see, I just got that back. So making these Fluix crystals doesn't take nearly as long as making pure Fluix dust, because these are still at 10%. So I'm going to put them back in that hole. So back to this recipe. So it takes some iron, quartz glass, the Fluix block, and Fluix cable, which is much the same. It's just Fluix crystals with some quartz fiber, which is just the dust, either nether or Certus, between glass. And this makes the basic behind their cable system, because it runs power, items, fluid, everything. It's the universal cable for these things. So once you make 4 of these, you have to wire them up. And the way I wired them up, the tricky thing with Applied Energistics, and this is a new room I didn't want to show you today, but I'm going to have to, runs off its own power called AE. Surprise, AE power for Applied Energistics. But if you make an energy acceptor, and I'll show you that here in a second. Energy acceptor. Here we go. Which is more Fluix crystals, of course. Fluix crystals, just quartz and iron. So it's really easy to make early on. You can make this no problem. And what this energy acceptor does is I have it attached to my capacitor bank where all my RF power is stored from my big generator and everything else I have running. I need to eat. Excuse me for a second. So this can draw power from this, convert it to AE. And I have cables running down here to the machines I have up above. And I'm running them to these growth accelerators, which do require power. You see the device is online. If I were to take these away, it would say device offline because it's not receiving any power. But I want them to run because I'm going to show you just how much faster they are when you have these running. Now you can use just one, but the best way to do it is to have 4 surrounding that pool of water. That's the most you can have. If you put them in the corners, it won't make a difference as far as its speed is concerned. It has to be touching the water. So these 4 are the ones that work the quickest. So let's start with those seeds again. And I'm going to start with the ones that seeds, they just say 0%, so they have nothing going for them right now. I'm going to pop these in here, and we're going to see, you know what? I put those in there first, and I'm going to drop these 4 in there. And we'll see which ones get done first. See, they're bouncing around in there. Sometimes like bubble effects pop in. And we're just going to give these a minute, and we'll see how long they take to see. There's some bubbles forming. So you know these accelerators are making them move a lot faster. Now let's pick these up for a second. See, this one's already at 19%. Both of these are at 19%. So they're already twice as far along as these were, and these have been going for 15 or 20 minutes. So you can see why I didn't want to show you this from the beginning to, all the way through the process, because they take forever. And what this is going to get you is not a Fluix crystal, but a pure quartz crystal, which is a way of duplicating, because we started with what? We started with one Certus quartz, which we turned into sand, or into dust, and combined it with sand and made these seeds. And these seeds will become a full-grown, pure Certus quartz crystal. God, that's hard to say. As you can see, I have a ton right now, and with my sag mill and things like that, I have a way of duplicating this on its own. Even enrichment chamber does it, pulverizer does it. You can see the sag mill does it. Actually, the one that does the best looks like it's the enrichment chamber. So that's probably how I'll process it in the future, because I'll get 4 out of 1 block. So I shouldn't have to do this anymore. I had to do it early on. And plus it makes the Fluix crystals even faster than they normally would. So you see they're getting bigger, they're growing. And hopefully, let's see, how far along are we now? We are 72%, so these are almost done. Oh, get in there, you. So you can see this takes a lot less time. These, let's see, have they even moved an inch? These are still at 10%. So just standing here talking, these have gone all the way up to 72 and 73%. These haven't even moved 1% or even a partial percentage. So these are necessary for you early on if you want to get going with this stuff, especially if you don't have a lot of Certus quartz. If you want to do this early, I'm doing the Applied Energistics late enough where you can see I've got plenty of charged Certus quartz and charged Certus quartz, so I don't need to make any of these. There we go. These are done. So I've got pure Certus quartz crystals. So that's a way to turn one of these into multiple ones of these. You end up really being able to make 4 out of 1. So you can multiply your output by 4 if you need to, by making pure ones. Now, in most recipes, a pure Certus quartz crystal will make the pure Fluix crystals, and you actually need more of those than you do a regular quartz crystal to make certain recipes. Like, let's look back at the energy acceptor. See, it takes Fluix or pure. Now, the pure, you need to make a Fluix seed, but you basically need to make, where's the block? It's a Fluix. Let's look at the Fluix block, because I think it's, you need 8 of them versus 4, so you need twice as many for pure than you do for a regular Fluix. There we go. So with the Fluix block, this should show us. So yeah, pure. It'll take 8 pure or 4 regular. This just uses a regular Certus quartz that hasn't been turned into seeds. This would be turning the seeds into pure. So you need twice as much to make the same recipe. So that's kind of how it works. So if you can, use the regular one, because it requires a lot less production. But early on, if before you even make any iron chests or golden chests, this can replace all of these. Everything I have here, all the storage I have in this whole base, can be whittled down to this machine right here. And I'll show you how that works here in a little bit. So now that we've made these, let's see the charged. We'll make another Fluix crystal, and this will go insanely fast with this machine. Boom, done. Made 2 more. So you can see how fast this is. This really speeds up your production early game, but it does require power. Now, there is a way to generate power on its own with Applied Energistics. If you want to, off the bat, start out doing this. I don't know why you'd want to. I usually wait till later. But you can make a quartz grindstone, which you see is just stone, a gear, and any kind of quartz, whether it's Certus quartz, regular quartz, or nether quartz. And you need a wooden crank. And what you do is, oh, there's the recipe, which is just a stick in an inverted L. And what you do is that you put that crank on top of the Certus quartz grinder, and that's how you grind the quartz down. So if you have only a little bit of regular Certus quartz, you can pulverize it into dust and then make seeds with sand to grow yourself some more pure. So if you only have so many, that's how you can duplicate it very early on. But I have all those complicated machines that do the same process, and I have a really good power output already. Now, the machine that generates power is called a vibration chamber. It works like a coal generator. You can burn anything. You burn wood, charcoal, coal, whatever, to generate power. But it's kind of the only thing that makes AE power on its own. But since I have a big giant reactor that makes all kinds of power for me, that's why I went ahead and made the energy adapter. Because this will power all my equipment. So the recipes are in NEI. I don't want to show you every single recipe there is. But basically, you have to start out with this inscriber to make the different circuits and things like that, like the engineering processors, the inscriber logic presses, and silicone. And the way to make them is that you need these things here. Presses. Let's see, inscriber engineering press, inscriber logic press, inscriber silicone press. And there's, I think, 5 of these total. But these 3 were the basic ones you need, and there's no way to craft these unless you have another one. You can duplicate it with a block of iron, but you can't make it outright through crafting. You have to find it, and the way you find it is, let's see, where's my compass? Here's my compass. And the way you find it is, you see it's pointing in a specific direction. What we're going to do is that we're going to go outside, and I'm going to show you how I found it. The only way to find it is to find Skystone. And Skystone are these meteorites that exist in the world. And inside the middle of these meteorites are chests. And inside this chest you can find these presses. Alright, now you see how, you probably didn't notice. Let's go. Oh, jeez, don't fall. Put my hover on and then turn it off. Jeez, I almost killed myself. Where is my... Here, so here's my marker. I had to dig all the way down there. But this is how I found it. I walked around, and what I'll do is I'll bring up the... Okay, this is how you can see the different chunk boundaries. And what you see is that it stopped spinning. But it leads me, it points in this direction. As soon as I cross the plane of this chunk, it goes haywire. So it doesn't tell you exactly where it is. It tells you what chunk it exists in. And you see I crossed this boundary. It existed in this chunk too. But if I go to this side... Oh, it exists in this chunk too. Wow, this is a big one. It must take over all 4 of these. Yep. So it exists in 4 different chunks. That's how big it is. So I actually just did it because it was near the border of these 2, figuring it would be nearby. Dug straight down. Oh boy, here we go again. I'm going to kill myself. We're going to hover. Okay, and here's the Skystone. What is a gigantic meteor? Yeah, look at this. It intersects right in the middle of 4 chunks. And that's why it's spinning crazy. Once again, I'll show you. If you go outside this chunk boundary, it stops spinning, but it still points in that direction. You get farther away from it, it just points you towards the nearest chunk. And I dug this out, and in the middle of these, you'll see these Skystone chests. And this is where I got these, where are they? These presses. And it's random as to which press you get. You usually get press and some Skystone. I harvested all this Skystone to get to it, and they're usually right in dead center. These are usually perfect spheres. These meteors are, so they're pretty cool. So you harvest them. I had to find 2 to get the processor presses I needed. Oh, come on, get up there. Whee! There we go. And time to go back home. So I ended up finding 2 of them before I got what I needed, as far as the presses are concerned. Oh boy! Oh, thank you. See that it automatically turned hover mode on for me. Saved my life. Now I can turn hover mode off. Turn those off. Okay, we'll head back home. So that's how I found those presses. You had to find those Skystones. And the recipe for this is super easy. You just need to find 1 piece of charged Certus quartz. Charged Certus quartz and iron. And that's how you make the meteorite compass, they call it. So that's the first thing I did. And then the inscriber, let's see, I'll show you the presses I have, and I'll show you what they're used for. The first one is the simplest one. You need printed silicone to make any circuit. So you put the inscriber silicone press in the inscriber with some silicone, just like the one from Ender.io, which, if you remember, you get from pulverized sand, or from the sag mill as well. So what I would do is put this in here, and let's see, maybe I have some silicone in here still. Let's make one, just so I can show you quickly how it works. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'll make one really quick just so you can see. Put this here, Put the silicone in the middle, and chug, 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 chug. And it makes a printed silicone press. And you take this template back out when you're done with it. And what you do is, let's make it, the logic press I think is the first one and the easiest one. There you go. So I would take inscriber with gold, and it makes one of these. And then I take this with that silicone press and make the processor. So this gets really complicated. And that's why I don't really want to go in depth, because we could spend a couple of hours talking about how specific this mod is. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want to leave you hanging, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave links in the description and in the annotation to another guy who is pretty much like the elite mod tester in the world, called Direwolf20. He has actually his very own mod pack on the FTB launcher. I'll put a link to that as well. Not the ATL launcher, but the Feed the Beast launcher. And he has two very, very detailed spotlights as to how to do this, and he gets really deep into it and how complicated you can make this. The setup I have here is very, very basic, and I'm probably not going to go any further from this besides maybe making this a wireless setup. But what these are is that these are basically storage drives, just like your computer. These are hard drives that hold stuff. And you see the one on the top left there, 975 out of 1,024 bytes of being used. It can hold up to 63 different types of materials. So once this one gets filled up, it'll start filling up one of the other ones. I just made 5 to start out with. There are multiple tiers of these. Here they are. You start with the 1K, then you go 4K, 16, 64, then you get into some really crazy spatial storage systems that just carry, I don't know who would ever need that many different types of items. So for me, this is probably going to be enough. And what I did is I took a glass fiber cable, which, like I said, carries energy, items, fluids, and everything, and hooked it up to my ender chest with an ME port bus. What an ME port bus does is allow things to come in and out of objects. So this one's, of course, like pulling everything out of this ender chest and drawing it and filling the machine up with all my stuff. And I talked about before making an ender pouch. And if you look at the top here how the colors match, it goes red, blue, and purple. What I did is that I colored this chest first, made the pouch. You left-click on the chest, and they match. And then they're bound to each other. So if you look in the corner here, as I open this pouch, the chest opens as well. So if I put something in here, it goes in this chest. Of course, it's already gone because it's been drawn in here. So that's what I've been doing, is slowly emptying all of my chests of stuff. And we'll see. I'll do this one next. Put all my silver and gold in there. That's a lot of stuff, but I'll dump it in here. And you'll see it's slowly going down already. It's drawing all the silver in. It moves fairly slow. There are upgrades I can add to this bus. I don't know that I'll get into it now, because once I have it in here, I'm not going to worry about how fast it sucks stuff in and out. So you'll see now I have silver in here, and it's just slowly going up because it's gathering all the silver I have. You can scroll through all the things you have in here. You can search on it. It works just like NEI does. It's very, very, very helpful. You see, I've even got some essence in here from downstairs. But I'm slowly but surely going to gather everything I have all over the place into these drives. Therefore, I can... Oh, this one's about to get full. It'll get there. And what should happen when it gets too full is that little green light in there will turn yellow. Yep, there we go. It's turning yellow. It's telling me it's almost full. And then it'll go red when it's completely full. But then it'll switch to the next available drive that isn't full. So I should be okay. It's going to get full here very soon. Yep, it's already started moving over to the next drive. So we'll see, because I'm maybe a third of the way through transferring everything. So I think these 5 drives will be enough for what I have. And I think I should be okay. Now, these machines do make a lot of power, which is the one reason I waited to do this, because I had the big reactor I made. So now I have enough power to run these machines without any problems, because these, in addition to all my ore processing machines, in addition to the Applied Energistics and everything else, wouldn't have been enough to run everything. So, everything's sitting in here? I do not. Oh, there we go. So yeah, that's how Applied Energistics work. This is not a very detailed mod spotlight, but it does show you what it's capable of. And I will give you links to a very, very well explained spotlight as to how to make very, very complex things. You can go as far as to this thing fundamentally automating everything. You can make what are called blank templates, and you can teach it how to make things with the raw items you put in here, so you can queue up items to be made. But it gets really crazy complicated. With Applied Energistics 1, it was a lot easier, and it was, I think, a little too easy to make what you have to make. Gets way more complicated because I think this is a little bit cheaty, but once again, I've earned the right because I have the materials by which to make this. You see all the gold's going in here. Yep, all the gold's in there now, and the silver's going in, and I'll just empty all this stuff out and get rid of these chests. So yeah, this is Applied Energistics, and that's how cool it is. Now let me show you what I've done to the base. You can't see it there because it's fused glass, but it's blast resistant. In case the reactor blows up, I'll be safe behind this glass. But I made this is going to be like my maintenance level. It gets me back inside my hovel. It also takes me downstairs to my farming stations underneath. Yep, which we know are just plugging away, doing their thing. Yeah, and that's how I'll have all my cables and stuff probably running through here. And I'm also going to have these cables run down and up, so at every level of my base. And this I cleared wide open because this is where my space center is going to be. I'm going to put all the machines I need for Galactic Craft down here. I'm going to have ME cables coming down here from Applied Energistics, so I don't have to keep bringing stuff all the way down here. I can just access all of my items from one location at every level. And you see over here it says launch silo. I started clearing this out. And this is going to be where my launch pad's going to be. And I'm going to dig straight up out through the mountain, and I'm going to build a great big silo, a big circle. And this is where I'm going to launch out. It's going to be super cool, and I'm going to show you how to make something else from Tinker's Construct, which is going to help me, which are called drawbridges, so I can hide the door so people won't be able to see it. And it's going to get really, really cool, really, really neat. Use more factory blocks for the floors, and each level is color coded. Purple is for Galactic Craft, orange is for maintenance, and white is my main level. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, lots of fun things ahead of us. I'll continue to transport everything into Applied Energistics, so I'll have everything capable. There's even actually a way to make wireless terminal accesses. I don't know if I'll do that or not. I may or may not. I haven't decided yet. But the reason I did this main ender pouch now is anytime I'm out and about and I'm mining, I can just automatically dump stuff in my pouch, and it'll get stored straight into my ME drives, which is just perfect for me. So I don't really need a sorting system anymore. This thing stores everything, and I can just sort out. I can just ask for what I need. And it even has a crafting table here, so I can just draw stuff out and make what I want. Like if I want some, there you go, ink sacs. If I change my mind, it just dumps it right back in here again. So this thing is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So it's going to take me a little while, but I'm going to transfer everything that's in there, everything in here. I'm going to have a terminal in every room. I'll have a terminal in the reactor room. I'll have a terminal up here, so I don't have to keep these chests up here anymore. I'll just have a crafting terminal sitting right here where this crafting station is, because I won't even need the crafting station. I'll just wire up a terminal right up here. Boom. And then I can gather whatever materials I need to process. In fact, maybe I'll put it, I don't know, I could put it on the floor even. I could put the terminal right here because it just doesn't take up a whole block. It just takes up part of a block because it's just like a plate, basically. So it doesn't take up, I can have a cable behind it. It used to be that this crafting terminal took up an entire space, one whole block. But now it doesn't take an entire block. You can have a cable and it just as a face, just like a screen. So yeah, I'll have these all over the place. So when you see these at a level, you'll know what they're all about. They're for Applied Energistics. If I need something, I can just jump into them and grab what I need to build on to the next thing. It'll make my life so much easier. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. And I'll show you how to clear out and how I'm going to build that big silo and make it look super awesome and add some more cool lights and stuff like that. I'm thinking I might even put a satellite dish or like a communications tower out of the mountain. I don't really need it technically, but I think it'll look cool when I make it. Maybe in a flight control deck. I don't know. Stuff that I don't necessarily need, but I like to build. You know, half of the fun of Minecraft is just building really cool objects. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate your support, and stay tuned for more. All right, guys. See ya.